everybody. Glenn Hausman here with the No Vacancy Podcast for our video edition. And I'm excited because we're going to be speaking to Mr. Vinay Patel today. You know him as a treasurer of AAHOA these days, but I also know him as a hotelier. So we're not going to talk anything about AAHOA today, which is kind of really strange. Vinay, I want to hear all about you, your business, and how you see the state of the hotel economy. But I guess the best way to open it up is by saying, hey, how you doing? Happy just before Thanksgiving.
Hey, I'm doing well. How can you complain? You've got Thanksgiving holidays coming up. I'm going to take a break for the next couple of days. So I'm doing really well.
I love it. I can't believe that you guys are actually going to be off an airplane for a couple of days. All right. But I promise we're not talking about AAHOA. How do you, sir, see the state of the hotel economy right now as we're going into the holiday season 2019?
Going into the holiday season is always tough. In November, December are typically slow months for us. And so even at all of our hotels, we kind of want to make sure that we're mindset of the fact that the next couple of months will be slow. But I think looking ahead, I mean, January, February, and the rest of the year in terms of 2020, we're going through our budgets right now. We're on the tail end of the budget season for all of our hotels right now. And so we're looking positive. I mean, again, like I said, it's the pockets and depends on which location and which hotel.
Of course.
But I think at the end of the day, we're looking positive. Yeah, you see some headwinds there. Obviously, you got to be ready for any kind of things that could happen, but we're looking very positive over the next 12 to 24 months.
So what does positive mean to you, Vinay? Because, out there attending all of the events that we go to, you hear positive, you hear negative, but it all seems to come around to very slow, moderate growth, which I think after 10 years seems reasonable. But how do you see it?
I kind of like it. I'm based out of Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. So we've always had slow, moderate growth over the last 20 years. So when I travel across the country, when I go to Houston, to New York, to whatever else out there, you see all these big cycles up and down. And so we're not used to it. So I think for us, when you ask me, hey, what is positive growth for me? 2 to 3% is great for us as far as growth over the next couple of years. And so I think even from the national level, I think that, again, it's a street corner business. What happens in Tulsa, Oklahoma may not happen in New York City. But it's a street corner business, and so I think that's what makes a big difference in terms of how you see that ahead.
Yeah, and we definitely forget about that here in the hospitality industry because we like to talk about those national numbers, but they're not necessarily representative of what you are experiencing at your properties. And I mean you watching this right now and Vinay as well. But it is indeed, like I said, a good bellwether of understanding. But what does it all mean to you? Expenses are starting to creep right now. 2% seems fair. Are your expenses going up more than that? And how are you coping with the change in the economic positioning of your hotel operations?
What I hear and what I'm experiencing even in my own hotels, when I travel across the country and you hear Smith Travel Report saying, hey, look, Smith Travel revenues are up, markets are up, STRs are going up.
Right. Sorry. People are trying to make reservations right now to help your December slow season, I think.
But as I said, when you see there and say they revenues are up, markets are up, but then at the end of the day, as an owner, we're not seeing that. I mean, as far as when you look at the NOI, you look at labor pressure, the supply pressure, a lot of different things that's coming in the market. And so when you look at the net, the NOI valuations are going down, in my personal opinion. So we may see an increase in 2 to 3%. But our cost structure is probably going up to a higher rate than the 2 to 3% there.
And I think that is the real story and what hoteliers need to grapple with today. I think we've been so drunk on the excitement of 10 years of growing that we're at that point now in the cycle, which albeit is going to be very different than other cycles, that we've kind of gotten a little bit loosey-goosey, forgetting about those expenses. So how are you, sir, coping with the rise in expenses at your property to make sure you can retain the same level of profitability that you've enjoyed in the last few years?
We look at every little thing there. So what can we do better? Going to procurement companies, buying through large scale purchases, to whatever else we can do. Every little thing matters. I mean, in the past, when you, just like you say, loosey-goosey over the last probably 4 or 5 years, revenues have been up, markets have been up. So you sit and say everything goes well. But now looking ahead, every single thing matters, whether it be breakfast costs, a small item, to saving money on cups, to anything that's out there. Every little thing matters because of the fact that margins are much, much tougher to deal with these days.
Yeah, and I tell you, Vinay, I've spoken to other hoteliers about this. I think you're on the right course right there. So how do you go about thinking about what kind of contracts that you're going to look at, what things would be reevaluated, where you feel you should go to another supplier to provide those products?
I mean, like I said, everything matters. And one of the other things we're also looking at is also on the revenue side, making sure that you got the right revenue. Certain revenue costs a lot more money. And then do you really want to go down that path? Why don't you just use revenue that costs you a lot less money? So when you look at the NOIs there, Again, even labor. How do you kind of multitask people? And we've got 3 airport hotels, and so how do you multitask the driver? How do you multitask the front desk agent? And seeing how we can kind of maximize what we have here. So whether it be labor, maximize revenue, whether it be revenue, maximize revenue, whether it be any kind of things that we have, maximize everything possible that you have in your hotel there.
Right. One of the topics that we talk an awful lot about on the Hotel Tech podcast, which I do in addition to my other regular series, is getting that right mix of distribution out there. So how do you approach making sure that your properties are seen by the right people at the right time and that you're able to charge the right price?
We like local negotiated business here. So if I've got a company right down the road where I can work with them, I get the best value from them, get the best margins from them as well as they're working directly with us. So that's probably the best opportunity for us. When you look at margins and how do you get the best revenue, that's the best business. I'd rather go down to a local company down the road and have got a good relationship with them compared to going out on the national level. Great RFPs are great from national companies, and even the OTAs and third parties are great, but the margins that you get off those things, you're talking about 10, 15%. Cut on there. So it's better to go with the local companies that you deal with on a local level.
Right. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. But then I got to ask you this question, Vinay, because you may have salespeople that are younger than us. We're not as young as we used to be. And it means that very possibly they've never experienced a downturn before. So maybe they aren't up to date on all the skills that they really need in order to be able to close those deals in the local community. Am I right with that, with what you're experiencing, and how do you handle it if it's true?
No, you're right. I've got a 24-year-old son who thinks everything's great. Hey, nothing's going to be wrong. And
that's in those days, man.
And so he thinks everything's great. And even same thing on our staff said, hey, look, they have not seen a downturn. And, for me, the biggest downturn was last time. That was my first downturn. So I learned a lot. And I'm not saying I was much younger back then, but that was my first time. So I learned a lot. And so I try to teach that to my staff here as well. I go, look, guys, what you have seen over the last 10 years is great. It's been fun and it's been good, but that's not going to last forever and ever. So you really have to look at the details, look at where you can kind of look at opportunities that make sense for you. And so I think that looking back and instructing and teaching and coaching them along is probably the best way to kind of motivate some of the younger staff that we have out here.
Great. Any final words of advice before we wrap up?
No, again, like I said, watch your P's and Q's, look at the revenue side. I know people, one of the things I've learned is you can't make money by cutting costs all the time. Profits are not through cutting costs there. So start looking at your revenues as well, and then start looking at the little details.
Right. So this is a perfect time right now as we're entering the holiday season. If you're a little bit slower, get back into the office, start to evaluate all of your expenses, start to evaluate how you're distributing your product in order to make sure that you have the best income. Vinay, how about a good shameless plug for yourself? And you can throw in something nice about AAHOA too, if you'd like.
Yeah, well, obviously I've been the treasurer for AAHOA, dealing with the money there on that side, but it's been an association. It's been a great thing for me. Going back to AAHOA, and I don't want to take too long on this thing. I learned a lot from AAHOA. I grew up in AAHOA. I still remember going to my first AAHOA meeting back in 1993. Wow. And so you look at took advantage of all the tools that the association has given me. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of all the things that are there, whether it be cost cutting to revenue to whatever else is out there. Take advantage of AAHOA. And if you ever get a chance to come to DC, I know DC is a complicated city, but definitely come out to DC when you get a chance.
Yeah, but you're already getting people calling, coming to DC and wanting to stay with you in Virginia. So let's going to wrap this thing right up right now. So for Vinay and myself, Glenn, I want to thank you for watching. Be sure you subscribe to the No Vacancy Podcast, all of our different series. Follow us on LinkedIn, like us on Facebook, and all that kind of good stuff. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on the other side of the holiday. Be good.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.